welcome you to a fresh edition of Law and You, a program that looks at the nitty-gritty about concepts and throw light into them in order to bring about what it pertains to the law as it applies to the law concerning such concepts or topics. And on today's discussion, we're going to be looking at vote buying. You agree with me that vote buying has been a very big problem in the electoral process in Nigeria, and reports have it that it's traceable to 1961 in the regional elections. And since from 1961 till date, we've had this big challenge. And how do we take away this malaise from our political lives? Well, looking at the legal implications, if there are, as the brass tack of this discussion. And joining me is a legal practitioner, as always, and a custodian of the law, Sunday Daudu. Thanks for joining me, Sunday.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful to be here.
And my name is Philip Omo Gupon. Without wasting much time, let's look at the aspect of the law. I know that a lot will be said concerning the law as it applies to vote buying. But again, there can't be vote buying if there isn't vote selling. So what do you see as the legal implications, or what do you see? Is this a wrong or an offense before the law when it comes to an act of vote buying or vote selling? Can we say it's a crime or an offense before the law?
Well, before we delve into whether or not vote buying is a crime, let us first of all actually look at whether or not it's a feature in any nascent democracy. Mm-hmm. First, it is good to establish that vote buying is not a new concept globally. Even in the United States of America, in the UK, and some advanced countries, including the Soviet Union before the, divided. The incidence of vote buying is the correct feature for any nascent democracy. So it is not a new concept in Nigeria. But what is important is that it is not a welcome concept, but it has been in the correct decimal in the political scene, especially of party politics. Yeah. You see situations where people are induced, people are influenced, and people are motivated to go and vote for a political party. It has been there over time. But what is important is that whether or not it's a feature, it is an ugly feature, and the provisions of the law, including the Electoral Act 2022, frowns at any conduct of any voter or any official of a political party to induce a person to vote for a particular candidate. So it's one of the areas classified as offenses, electoral offenses, as contemplated by the Electoral Act 2022 as amended. So it is an offense, to answer the question simply. It is an offense to engage in either we call it vote buying, or inducing a candidate to vote for a political party, or encouraging a political candidate or a political voter to vote for a party that is ordinarily not his choice. So it's an offense under the law. If you look at Part 7 of the Electoral Act 2022, if you look at critically Section 140, that is 114 to 129 of the Electoral Act, it makes copious provisions for criminalizing any conduct of any person, whether a voter or a political party or an agent, including party officials or evil electoral officers who may be tempted to be lured into either manipulating the results of an election on grounds of being induced financially. Okay. So it is not only the voter that is criminalized. The electoral umpires will have political, what we call polling agents, maybe supervisors and all of that. If they are induced to manipulate elections results or manipulate voting, that again is classified as an electoral offense or an electoral offense that is also criminalized and penalized by the Electoral Act. Okay. So if a person engages, if you look at recent comments by the resident electoral commissioner, Mike Guinea of Akwa Ibom State, he argued that the issue of vote buying is now becoming an ugly incident in Nigeria. And that if you give him the opportunity to recommend, he will suggest that there must be a ban there must be a ban on either a party candidate or any electoral voter who is caught in the web of inducing people to vote, either by sharing money or doing anything, even slanting the slogans of a political party. If, for instance, during the election day, you continue to chant the slogan of one political party just to persuade people to vote for that party with a view of getting kicked back shortly, it's also criminalized by the Electoral Act. So the Electoral Act frowns as any conduct, any act that can be calculated as trying to induce voters to vote for any political party of his choice. So the reason why all of this must be canvassed is that if you look at it, the electoral system in Nigeria has already been polarized. Now, the polarization now created a disequilibrium in the system. If you, for instance, says, for you to buy a party ticket, you must pay 20 million, 30 million, 100 million. It's already a way of buying votes. It's already a way of buying voters.
It encourages it.
It encourages it, but a person who cannot muster 20 million, how will he come into the ring? So you are already giving the electorates the pressure that those who are contesting for election are people with money bags.
Money bags, yeah.
So you are told the voters to be asking for something to vote.
Because they want to have their share of
the because they believe that a man who could cough out 20 million
yes,
to buy just a ticket, maybe the expression of Israel 5 million, all right, to give money to the national 2 million, to give money to the state 1 million. You are already maybe you are continuing for House of Senate, you already pay over 50 million just to buy the ticket. So the people you are now canvassing to, they believe the man has the money. So you have already portrayed situations where the electors or the electorates now will now be encouraged or tools to request that they be given money.
Thank you.
So we must have,
Thank you. It's quite a sad commentary because we can go on to talk about this in our political lives, and it has never taken us anywhere. And well, we cannot say that it's limited to Nigeria alone or Africa. I think it has to do with a global phenomenon. But looking at what we have, you just said it, like from your expression when you spoke about it, you made it clear that it's not only the vote buyer that is liable, but also the vote seller. So both voters and party agents or politicians are also liable if they are involved in this. Now let's look at a stretch, because I came across a part of the section of the Electoral Act where it spoke about the punishment for offenders. Now, can you give us a stretch of what the law is in respect of punishment for such offenses?
Now, if you look at section 123, if you look at section 126 and section 129 of the Electoral Act, it defines the offenses that are punishable under the law, including inducement. When you are talking about inducement, you are talking about vote buying. Any person that is caught with vote buying in an election, and if convicted by court of law, will be appropriately be sentenced to a term of imprisonment, depending on the gravity of the offense. Now, as I was trying to explain, if you look at the proposal now, which is also trying to give impetus to the provisions of the law, is that if a person is caught and is found guilty of an offense under the law, it should be sentenced for 6 years imprisonment.
6 years imprisonment.
And if after release, maybe after have signed the J10, and the person again is found, it should be banned for life.
Who should be sentenced? Is it the party agent or anyone?
Any person, whether the party agent,
including the vote seller,
including the vote seller, any of the person caught in the web.
But are they supposed to have same punishment?
You see,
like the vote buyer, for instance.
If you do not sell a product, if you do not have a product to sell, people will not come and buy. So it is because the voter is ready to sell his vote that the candidate now or their agents now double the money. So you have already put yourself in an advantageous position to receive. Okay, but
do such punishments come with an option of fine?
No, it does not come with an option of fine. It's a J10.
A J10?
It's a J10.
For 6 years?
For 6 years. So if a person is found wanting of committing an electoral offense, both the persons that participate, because there is issue of conspiracy. We had a situation where one of the candidates in the previous election, 2019, was sharing money everywhere. We are saying that if such a person is caught now by this electoral act, the person was sharing the money, and those who allow themselves to be shared to are guilty of the same offense. They are referred as participative criminals.
Yeah, you keep saying if, and that brings us, because the viewers, I believe, will be taken aback by what you said, that 6 years imprisonment without an option of fine. And the question here will be, what has been happening? What are the prosecutions like? Has anyone been prosecuted? Because to the viewers, they may not have seen anyone, caught in that web, where you say, well, it's on the headlines today, and then some politicians or vote sellers and buyers were caught in the web, and so prosecution went on and they were jailed for 6 years. What's happening? As a custodian of the law, have you taken such a case where such offenders are prosecuted, or have you witnessed, or have you heard or seen such reports?
You see, the problem we have had over the years, which we believe that it should now be cured, is that politicians have a way, or have their way out, where a person is caught with money. Now the police make an arrest. The politicians start phoning the commissioner of police that those persons that were arrested are their boys, and as such they should be released.
Corruption creeps in.
Corruption creeps in. So they release them. A governorship candidate, or he has won election, is governor-elect. He calls, he went to his politician, go out to report, you have won election. Those boys that were arrested are our boys who were in the field working for us. He put a call across the commissioner of police.
But is it not also punishable for anyone to evade arrest, or for any politician or anyone to stop all of the process of prosecution?
Yeah, all of these are interference with the law. But again, we are in Nigeria. We are in a country where the law, the powerful ones are able to tinker with the process of prosecution. Now, the police commissioner is called, for instance, that look, those boys are our boys. We sent them there. And as such, you do not need to commit them. Or they say, oh, the offense is a bailable offense. Grant them bail, administrative bail. After that, bail has been granted to them. The question now is, who prosecutes? Is the police? And the police have been dissuaded not to prosecute. Where do we go from there? It is the police that prosecute any criminal offense. And it is only the police who have been persuaded to, of course, grant them bail. And of course, electoral offenses are bailable offenses. The person is granted an administrative bail. The question now is that after the bail has been granted to the persons, the offender, who prosecute?
Or suspects?
The suspect. Who now, of course, continue the prosecution is the police. And it's the same police who have been dissuaded or persuaded not to continue the prosecution. So the matter dies a natural death. The police also complain of situations that they do not have the resources to prosecute independently. If you don't need to hide it, let people leave it out of election matters. If you make a report to police and you do not fund them, you do not mobilize them, you do not pay for transportation, they will effect an arrest. I had a situation where a person was badly injured. He went to police station to make a complaint. They said before they can proceed from there, the man should go and bring money to hire buses for them to go and effect an arrest. Where blood was gushing out of somebody's head. We're not talking about election material. Maybe we were just barely taking money. Maybe the policeman has not even eaten. So all these are participative criminals in the act. But the question now is that who prosecute? The same police. Okay. If the police also were party, if they were also providing a cover for those persons who were sharing the money, maybe for a face saving situation, they just decide to arrest. They were actually part of it. But because of outcry, they now decided to arrest as a face saving situation. They arrest those people. In a little persuasion to release them, they release them because they know they were also party to the commission of the crime.
All right. In case you're just joining us, it's Law and You, and I've been discussing with a custodian of the law. By that I mean a legal practitioner, Sunday Daudu. My name is Philip Amo Gyupong, and we're taking a stretch. Like you said it, that the process of enforcement in Nigeria, for instance, seem to be a very, very frustrating one, in the sense that the big wigs, those who have it, the money bags or the politicians, seem to kind of find short corners, to evade such prosecutions. Now, does that mean that no fly, using hyperbolical statement, no fly has been caught all through these laws were formed against those who offended?
You see, it is difficult to say here that anybody has actually been prosecuted. We have not seen situations where those who were selling votes that were caught, going beyond maybe merely arresting them to leave the scene. What the arrest that was even done is just to leave the scene. There is no prosecution today where a person was convicted
and then sentenced,
and sentenced for selling votes or buying votes in any electoral venue.
We have a precarious seat. Okay.
If you look at the situation that just happened in Osun State, the recent elections,
yes,
there were situations where there were open buying and selling of votes. I saw a scene where money were kept in a car and everybody was lined up there and they were giving money to go and vote. The question now is that it was even in the glare of police officers. The question is that were people arrested? And if they are arrested, were they prosecuted? That is the question. So the question of it's a very difficult thing to enforce.
It's a big dilemma.
It's a very difficult thing to enforce.
Okay.
This offense has been there, but the police may just make an arrest, if any, where there is a huge crying out of the fact that they are now doing it with reckless abandon. Before now, it does happen. Maybe they just go to a leader's house and they are collecting money. But what they do now is that they even bring the money to the voting venue, and they are sharing it to the open glare of everybody. Now the question is that in most cases, I am not trying to indict anybody, the security agents are also already be compromised because they know that the police will be there. They have compromised them before even coming to the venue. So in most cases, they may turn their blind eye to the fact that money is being shared, or when drawn to their attention, they will tell you that that is not the reason why they are here.
Okay, we are in a precarious situation where we must find a way out, because we can't continue to remain in this political doldrum where we are saying that, well, it's almost a helpless situation. Now, what should be done in order to bring life to enforcement of these laws, to make them workable, to make them systematic in a way that it can serve as deterrence, where others, no matter how big or low they are, could be caught and made to face the law? What should be done looking at the Nigerian legal process?
You see, some of us have made recommendations in respect to creating an Electoral Offences Commission.
Okay.
Where you have under the Independent National Electoral Commission, we also have what is called an Independent Electoral Offences Commission under it, where you have task force, that is a synergy between the police, between INEC and some security agents who will manage that office under the auspices of INEC.
Okay.
Not under the police, not under the army or national security and civil defense corps or any other, but there will just be a task force attached to the Electoral Commission who will manage and monitor elections.
Do we have such laws that will bring life or flesh to such situations?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Under the Act.
Under the Act.
Under the Electoral Act.
Okay.
You should create an Independent Electoral Offences Commission.
Okay.
Which will work in concert with the commission, the Electoral Commission, the Independent Electoral Commission, to monitor elections.
So at present we don't have that.
We don't have it presently. We do not have something like that. What we have is just the Electoral Commission, employing ad hoc staff to conduct elections, and the police monitoring it.
Wow.
So that will not give impetus to nipping the issue to bear. And such body will also be charged with the responsibility of making arrest during the election. Not the police now. That will be charged with the responsibility of making arrest at the police unit, getting them arrested and prosecuting them. It is only by such commission, which also have such powers and such a synergetic security agent, which will be tagged as a task force, the Independent Electoral Offences Commission task force, that will be deployed during election period to ensure that they monitor the elections from the polling units to the collation center, to ensure that nobody induces another, or any person who is caught in the act is immediately arrested.
Okay, is it an aspect of the legislature doing this to bring it to fusion?
Yes.
Or the electoral umpire?
No, the electoral umpire can sponsor what we call private or public, whether a public bill or sponsoring it through a private member bill.
Okay.
To ensure that this commission, we are canvassing it. There was electoral reform where I had the opportunity to speak. We canvassed a situation where, of course, we should have an independent electoral offences commission. That commission will now be in charge of their major position is to monitor elections, the conduct of elections, whereas the police, the army, and other security agencies will provide protection.
Okay, but will it not also come back to the same dilemma where we had it, even where the anti-graft agency, for instance, the EFCC, monitored primaries
of primary elections? They don't have any. It's not
the EFCC.
Yes, they have no.
But it happened.
No. That was stretching the law to beyond bound. They were acting or traverse their powers. The EFCC should act on a petition to them that such persons who were sharing money got such money. They are got money. They don't have any business at the venue to make arrest.
So who has?
Because that's what I'm telling you now. The only person who could have made such arrest, if any, is the police, I said.
Okay.
But from this accommodation, it is only that body I'm telling you now that will be charged with monitoring, putting a searchlight on financing or inducing a party, inducing a candidate, inducing voters to vote during elections by giving them money. EFCC has no such function. It's not containing any of the powers conferred on EFCC. They have no business there. What they can do is that if they are aware or they have information that any of the candidates was sharing money, they will invite the candidate to their office. They don't need to storm the venue. That is Bagado functions of EFCC. I'm sorry. It's played to the gallery, to say the least. They have no business there. They said maybe Mr. A was sharing money. The EFCC have powers to invite the person to interrogate the source of money he was sharing, and whether or not it does not run foul of corrupt practices. So they have no business at the venue. The only people who have business at the venue of elections are the police, whose function is also limited to protection, offering protection to persons who will be there.
Okay, but if you
they are not auto standard.
If you say that is the police,
yes.
Obviously they weren't there.
Yes. Now they were also not saddled.
Does it mean that they didn't understand their function? Well, or they were not deployed?
No, even if they are deployed, I said the functions of the police also in election venue is not to query people sharing money. It's not part of their function. It's to provide protection. And nothing more. And to ensure that there is no fighting, there is no rancor.
That's limited.
It's limited. So I'm saying that the only people that can be charged is when you define the function to include ensuring that nobody shares money, and if a person shares money, it should be a specific function given to the task force.
Okay, the task force you said.
Yes.
That's where they also come in.
That's where they come in. But the function of EFCC, who were just there, were just doing busybody. They have no role, and as such they can't catch anybody because that is not their function. Their function is that if they receive a petition or they perceive a person has corruptly enriched himself, the enrichment of which he has taken to electoral venue and be sharing money, if the person is invited.
Thank you so much, Sunday Daudu, for bringing light in this direction. Well, this shows that there are loopholes, there are loose ends that really need to be tied to ensure that we have a tidy system where offenses are quickly given prescriptions of punishment in order to tackle that. Well, this is much you can take on Law and You on today's edition. Do well to join us same time next week for a fresh one. I'm Philip Omo Gupo.